Saint-Germain are one step away from the playoff stages of the World Club Championship. Victory over the Perth Reds at the Wacker would virtually guarantee PSG a place in the European playoffs. And Paris go into the game having already beaten Perth in the competition. The Reds are out to avoid the wooden spoon in their section of the contest, and they'll be aiming to avenge their defeat in Paris last month. It was at the Charlotte Stadium that Paris sprang one of the shocks of the tournament, and a repeat of that performance would send Andy Goodway's side into the playoff stages. As we can see from the World Club Championship tables, Paris currently lead Pool B in Europe, ahead of the Leeds Rhinos, who also have a big weekend coming up. Meanwhile, down under in Australia, in Australasian Pool B, right at the bottom, are the Perth Reds, and they'll be looking to salvage a bit of pride from this game. Hello, Paris may well be struggling in the European Super League, but they can make a name for themselves today by becoming only the second side from our competition to do the double over one of the Australasian teams. And PSG coach Andy Goodway sounds in confident mood, saying there's no reason why his side shouldn't win in Perth. But the Reds are in danger of finishing bottom in their side of the competition, and revenge will be their motivation for this game. Tony Ray from the London Broncos is with us again. And Tony, Paris must really fancy their chances.
This is, believe it or not, they mightn't be the best two sides in the competition, but I think it's going to be a real contest. I think Paris would more than fancy their chances. They'd be very, very confident about this one. They go into the game not only having beaten Perth in Paris, but absolutely demolished them. 24 points to nil is a very good victory, and I think that gives them a lot of confidence, and they'd be more than encouraged by that going into this one.
Well, let's have a look at how these two evenly matched sides line up, starting with the Perth Reds, who have Matthew Geyer at full back, Tristan Brady-Smith, Greg Fleming, Chris Ryan, John Wilshere, Sean Devine and Matthew Rodwell, who's their captain. In the forwards for Perth, Rob Kearns, Matthew Fuller, Brett Green, Wayne Evans, Darren Higgins and Jared Miller. Kearns back from injury. And on the bench, Mark Geyer, Dale Fritz, who also returns from injury, Fred Sapatu and Damien Chapman. Their coach is Dean Lance. What about that Perth Reds side? Rob Kearns back and also Dale Fritz on the bench.
Yeah, I think they're two important changes. Rob Kearns, of course, played some representative football in Australia this year, and they will enjoy having him leading the way up front, particularly with Matthew Fuller, the hooker, back in good form and playing well. And he had a bit of an unsteady start to the season, but he has been consistently over the last couple of years a very good player for them, so they'll enjoy that. Fritz is important because I'm not convinced about Sean Devine at stand-off. I don't think he's a player that's all that comfortable there. He hasn't played a lot there, and Fritz can fill into that role if they are in trouble. So they're two good changes for Perth.
What about the Paris Saint-Germain side that lines up against the Perth Reds then? Dion Bird at full back, Pierre Chamaran, Paul Evans, Jason Eade, Phil Bergman, Matt O'Connor, who starts this game after giving a good performance against Hunter Mariners last time out, and Jason Martin, who'll captain them at scrum half. In the forwards, Craig Menkins, Troy Bellamy, Wayne Singh, Anthony Hancock, Adam Peters and David Lomax, who also returns after missing the last game. On the bench for PSG, David O'Donnell, Joe Taylor, Michael Hogue and Fabien Devecchi, and Andy Goodway is the PSG coach. And Tony, a lot of the PSG side will be familiar with the players they're up against because there are quite a few Perth connections, aren't there?
Yeah, it's handy for them. There's a core of players that have played in Perth over a number of years and have moved on. And yeah, as I said, they're very similar teams. They're players that haven't ever set the world alight, but they're good, solid, hard-working, grafting players, and as a team they will play well, Perth. Matt O'Connor, it's an important game for him. He's a former Australian Rugby Union representative. He's a former Wallaby. He'd be looking to assert some authority in this game, particularly, as I mentioned, he's not up against the best halves pairing he'll ever go against, so it's a good chance for him today to get his career kicking along.
Well, the thing about PSG, and they showed it against Hunter Mariners last time, where they held them, I think, 4-0 at half-time. They're great at defending, or pretty good at defending, but their problem seems to be cracking the opposition. They don't have a lot of firepower.
Yeah, fair. They haven't got much strike power at all. They're a grafting sort of a side. Dion Bird's been very good for them at the back, at full back. Their defence is a key, and it's been a whole key throughout this World Club Championship, hence they're on top of Pool B. And that's essential for them. They keep that up. You know, it's great for Andy Goodway to have such a good defence, because defence is an attitude, there's no question. It's the toughest part of the game to do. But Paris do it very well, so the spirit's there. As you say, it's just a pity they haven't got some strike power out wide. Pierre Chamaron on the wing, he's a fantastic player. He might be able to give them some thrust if they give him some ball.
Have they got the firepower to cope with Perth Reds? They're two evenly matched sides, as you've said. Could Paris just have the edge?
Look, more than capable. Perth haven't got a real lot to play for. They're not going to make the quarterfinals. Paris are, if they win this one. Paris have got a lot to play for. They're similar sides. I think Perth have also had a little bit of a blunder in the lead-up. They're threatening some of their players, saying they need to play well if they want to get opportunities for next year. And that's not good for team spirit. This is a good chance for Paris. I'd like to see them go well in this one.
Well, let's see how well they can go at the WACA. We can go and join our commentary team, John McCoy and Wally Lewis. On the sideline, Andy Raymond.
The referee for tonight is Tim Mander. So for the Paris side, this is their do or die as far as the World Club Challenge is concerned. Good performance tonight can put them into the quarterfinals. As the kickoff is taken, Paris taking the kickoff, Perth running it back from their own line. Let's take you down to the touchline just to check on conditions at ground level. Good evening, Andy Raymond.
I can tell you it's once again very chilly here at the WACA. John, these two clubs are really battling for survival. They both need positive finishes to the season to remind the Rugby League power brokers just how important they are. For the Reds, it's like a fortnight ago against Sheffield. It is about revenge. They were embarrassed by Paris at home. Kearns, Geyer, Green and Co. are ready and fired, I might add.
Thanks, Andy. Gee, I thought that was a little bit of a let-off as far as Perth was concerned. I was pretty sure that Wayne Evans spilt that ball. It was picked up by Jared Miller, the referee Tim Mander ruling that the ball was knocked across field and there was no knock on. I think that was fortunate for Perth. And instead of feeding a scrum just 30 metres out from the Perth line, the kick downfield on the last by Perth finds Paris back just 25 metres out from their own line now. And this is Pierre Chamaron, who is, as we said, along with Fabien Devecchi, one of the actual French nationals in the Paris side. So Paris losing the ball and immediately going to be picked up by Greg Fleming. Fleming will race away and plant the ball down underneath the post. There's try number one, and it's come off a Paris mistake. The simplest pickup by Greg Fleming and goes into score right underneath the post, and so perhaps a little bit against the run of play, Perth get away to lead by 4 points to 0.
Yeah, and of course, just a minute and a half into the game, you can't afford to go making any sort of errors, let alone these ones that just provide 4-point opportunities about to be converted into 6-pointers. And we're seeing the try, of course, being scored there, but there really was no desperation once that ball went to ground by any of the Paris players. The ball went to ground and it was just simply, oh, well, it's gone there. Let's drop our heads and feel a little bit sorry for ourselves. If it's going to be like that tonight, it's going to be a very long, hard haul for them.
So the Perth side didn't score a point against Paris when they played in Paris some 5 or 6 weeks ago. But it's taken them only about a minute and a half tonight to put the first try on the board. Greg Fleming scores off a loose pass from Paris, scores underneath the post, and Sean Devine with the easiest attempt to make it a 6-point lead. Devine, who was in great form last week in the Perth victory over Castleford, makes no mistake. And so the Perth Reds get away to lead Paris by 6 points to 0. That's not the start that Paris wanted. Remembering that although Perth can't make the finals of the Visa World Club Challenge, Paris certainly can make the quarterfinals. That's how easy it was. Just a mistake in attack by Paris players, not knowing who was going to be the receiver. The pass going behind a couple of players, and Greg Fleming said, "Thanks very much."
Yeah, it's shocking to get away into a start like that. Probably the most important thing that you've got to do as a player, and also trying to get the point across as a coach, is that first set of 6 tackles. You don't come up with any sort of errors whatsoever, even if you give away making a little bit of ground. Just take the 5 metres instead of trying to grab the 10, if it doesn't mean making mistakes, and simply get a good clearing kick game going, exactly the way that the Perth guys did after they had the ball for 6 tackles.
Well, that was a good go forward, first of all, by Jason Martin. Now, the first penalty of the game is going to go the way of Paris. Just a high shot. David Lomax was the player running the ball out. The high shot by Perth. Referee Tim Mander gives the first penalty to Paris. Well, having had a setback. Paris down 6 points to 0 after only a couple of minutes of play. Here's their first real chance to attack. So the Paris side 25 metres out from the line. Troy Bellamy, who is in playing hooker tonight, as we said, rather surprising that he's replaced O'Donnell in the hooking role. Going into the dummy half position. This is Jason Martin running it away to the short side, giving the pass back to Paul Evans, but loses the ball. And so picked up by Perth, only 6 metres out from their own line, and Matthew Rodwell will play the ball. Well, they just haven't settled down so far, Paris. They've made 2 mistakes already when they've been in possession. And one has seen Perth capitalise by scoring a try, and the other, when they themselves were in a good attacking position, they've seen the opportunity go big.
Yeah, John, without trying to be too insulting to these guys, neither mistake has come from pressure put on by the defenders. They were simply ordinary handling errors that could have been caught, I suppose, 99 times out of 100. But if anything, that really has been equalled by the mistakes coming from the Perth side. And, gee, there's not going to be either the happy coaches on either side of the fence here.
Well, maybe this is even things up a little, because in almost exactly the same position where Wayne Evans was ruled not to have knocked on earlier, loses the ball here, and this time the referee will call a knock on, saying the ball went forward. So the chance for Paris to feed this scrum, and it's won by Jason Martin and quickly spun across to Evans, and they're 35 metres out from the line. So the ball to be played back by Paris. Jason Eade to play it, a former Perth Red himself. This is Anthony Hancock. Hancock to play it, 28 metres out from the line to big Craig Menkins. Menkins takes it to 20 metres short. Jason Martin running it across field, finding Matt O'Connor, giving it away, just a short pass on to Lomax. It was well read, though. The defence well read by, first of all, Matthew Rodwell. So 15 metres out from the line. Perth in possession. Matt O'Connor throwing a pass, which has gone backwards. Dion Bird coming in from fullback, picks it up and then uses the kick, putting it down in behind Wiltshire, who'll be trapped in his own in goal, and in fact push touch in goal. And so John Wiltshire taking the ball over the touch in goal line, and a goal line dropout coming up for the Perth Reds.
And the jersey over his head, but it's gee, I don't know, a replay may give us a fair indication of just how far the ball was away from him on this occasion. I really thought that he probably could have tried to grab that, or may have been 2 or 3 metres away, I guess. A little bit easier sitting up here in the experts' chairs in the grandstand when you haven't got someone chasing down behind you. But if he had caught that ball, of course, play would have resumed with a 20-metre tap play, and pressure, of course, would have gone straight back on the visitors.
Only a young player, young John Wiltshire, originally from Papua New Guinea, schooled in Queensland, but a youngster just called into the first grade lineup only a couple of weeks ago by Dean Lance. So after the goal line dropout, the chance for Perth to attack again. Martin giving it away to Matt O'Connor. Just losing his footing somewhat, O'Connor. He's almost back up to the 20-metre mark. From Bellamy away to Martin, throws it behind Lomax and Bird. Jason Eade can't get it. Evans will go in and pick the ball up. The referee, Tim Mander, will rule there had been a knock on again by Paris. And so once again, the pressure coming off the Parisians, and they're just making too many mistakes. As we see the first interchange, Andy Raymond. Didn't take long for Mark Geyer to get into the action.
It certainly didn't take long for Geyer to get thrust into the action by Dean Lance. Wayne Evans, the former schoolboy stars, coming off. And I was just about to say Evans has been struggling for the last couple of minutes. He's corked his right thigh and is in fact in quite a bit of pain.
Remembering, of course, that in the Visa World Club Challenge, you can have 4 reserves, but you are only allowed 6 interchanges throughout the night. So different rules, of course, to the Telstra Cup. And so Perth forced to make their first change after only 8 minutes. Brett Green, 40 up from his own line. Perth just trying to push their way through the centre as Sean Devine. Up to the halfway mark now, the Perth Reds, leading by 6 points to 0. Fuller going from dummy half, then using the kick, driving it downfield for Phil Bergman. Bergman playing on the wing tonight, tackled just out from his own line. Bergman, of course, who is a halfback, in fact, played for the Auckland Warriors, Phil Bergman, and was looked upon as perhaps the Kiwi Test halfback to follow Gary Freeman. Just didn't work out that way for him, and he finds himself playing on the wing for Paris. The ball lost backwards by Paris. It went backwards. Dived on by Bellamy. They're just outside their own 20, and Wally Lewis, this is where they just have to make sure of their sets of 6.
Yeah, well, they've got one more tackle to be able to come up with no mistakes. ensure no mistakes before they get a clearing kick going. And probably one of the most, the biggest differences between the southern and northern hemispheres in the competition has been the way that players have been managing to chase the clearing kicks downfield, and the way that they've been able to get that clearing kick in operation. A classic example, just coming onto our screen right there, the fifth tackle, a golden opportunity to provide or ease the pressure that's on themselves, and suddenly they're just 35 metres out from their own line and doing desperate efforts to try and deny their opposition from managing to score another 4-pointer.
Yeah, well, that was just a crucial error by Paris. Trapped on the last tackle, 30 metres out from your own line, and you don't get your kick away. And Perth will surely make them pay for it, because they're almost up to the 20-metre mark now. Fuller distributing, getting it away to Rodwell. Then it goes to Sean Devine, gets brilliantly off the right foot. Almost got his way through the middle of the ruck, was just chopped out at the last moment by Bellamy. Here's big Mark Geyer. 12 metres out, Mark Geyer, and will play the ball. On the blind side, little kick through, which is going to go too far. It'll go over the touch-in goal line. It's the kick by Matthew Geyer, of course the younger brother of Mark Geyer, playing at fullback for the Perth Reds. Just a little too heavily weighted by Matthew Geyer. And so Perth just see the pressure coming off Paris, and the tack taken at the 20-metre mark by the Parisians.
They've got to make sure the next 10 minutes or so, John, that they're able to settle down in their play. And something that was quite obvious the first 2 or 3 times that they had possession, Jason Martin was cutting across the ruck play and trying to link up with a couple of runners supposedly running into holes, and it was those passes nearly every time they went to ground. They've got to try and cut that out, just make sure that they grab the ball, make possession, put a little bit of influence on the referee when they're getting up to make quick plays, try and force a penalty, which they've managed to do on that occasion. But you saw that I don't think any one of those players from the Perth team were anywhere near onside at that stage. But they've got themselves back to an area of the field now where they've got to make constructive play, but certainly not throw it away with ridiculous errors.
Yeah, that's quite right. They've got them now, even though they're only 28 metres out with a full set of 6 to come. This is where they have to make sure of this full set of 6, and then if need be, either put up the bomb at the end or have a well-weighted kick into the in goal in an endeavour to get the ball back. As we see Darren Higgins coming from the field, he'll go to the blood bin.
In fact, Will, John, and Dale Fritz, who's back from a hamstring and knee complaint, makes his way onto the field. This doesn't, of course, class itself as a replacement. A blood binning is a separate issue.
Dale Fritz, talented footballer in his day, former State of Origin player for Queensland. Been dogged by injury, though, Dale Fritz.
Bad guy to come off the bench. Have a look at 2 of them coming off. They were fairly handy players, both of them, Mark Geyer and Fritz. You wouldn't mind having either of those blokes sitting on the bench for you, but have a look at that. Just one play into the tap. They've turned over possession and then made that a hell of a lot worse by giving away a penalty.
Well, Andy Goodway will want to throw himself off the top of the stand when he sees a couple of mistakes that his side has made. Let's have a look at that mistake, which was made by Perth. Craig Menkins being put to ground in the tackle of Robbie Kearns, losing the ball immediately, and then they compound the problem by being offside and giving away a penalty. And in fact, here is big Robbie Kearns looking for support on the outside, going himself. Robbie Kearns gets the pass back to Matthew Fuller. Fuller will go in and score. Terrific try by Perth, and big Robbie Kearns. Well, earlier on in the season, it was Robbie Kearns and Rodney Howe who were the four props of the Telstra Cup. Rodney Howe tragically out with injury, but Robbie Kearns has taken it on his own shoulders to lead the way. Well backed up by Matthew Fuller. That's the second try to Perth, and they lead by 10-0.
It is coming from another Paris mistake, though, but quickly followed by a very ordinary defensive effort from the Paris forwards. The fullback coming across and cover, do a hell of a lot better to try and stop them. But just on that shot there, you've got to give a little bit of credit to the Reds. They had 2 or 3 guys in support play, but that is just simple jersey grabbing, and it's a complete waste of time to even get yourself in the line to attempt a tackle like that. He did very well, though. A prop forward showing a fair bit of toe there, and also keeping the ball in 2 hands when the time needed.
What was interesting, too, was that even though he probably knew he had support both on the outside and then backing up on the inside, he backed himself to try and beat the fullback Dion Bird, and simply crashed his way past Bird and then unloaded for Matthew Fuller. And I suppose you also have to give some credit there to Robbie Kearns, because if my memory serves me correctly, it was he who made the tackle on Craig Menkins 20 metres out from his own line, which forced Paris to lose the ball.
The one-on-one turnover where he ripped it out. He did extremely well there. But John, it was a couple of weeks ago I had the opportunity to sit here and watch the Reds play. They thrashed Sheffield 48 points to 12. But in that game, it wasn't the happiest time, I suppose, for a couple of their players. Kearns was one of those guys. The further the game went on, the more he tried. He started making a couple of dodgy passes and throwing them. He made 2 or 3 in a row, and the big hook went straight out from Coach Dean Lance. Around about 15 or 20 minutes left in the match, and he never got another start. So I suppose that he's been slapped over the wrist and told he can't do it again.
Great kick, Sean Devine, from only about 8 metres in from touch. Devine makes no mistake, so the excellent goal-kicking form of Sean Devine from last week continues tonight. Here's Robbie Kearns setting up the try, just unloading the pass back to Matthew Fuller. An unimpeded run to the line for the Perth Reds hooker, and Perth get away to lead by 12 points to 0. And the alarm bells are starting to ring for Paris, remembering that going into this game, they led Leeds on 4 and against by 16 points. And they wanted to make sure that, well, first of all, they wanted to win, but if not, keep close to Perth tonight. And they find that after only some 15 minutes of play, they're behind by 12. And I'm sure Andy Goodway will be sending out plenty of instructions. They only have themselves to blame, Paris, for some of the mistakes that they've made, particularly in attack, but also in defence, of course, missing some tackles, a la the ones on Robbie Kearns. David Lomax playing the ball. Jason Martin getting his kick away. That's going to be too deep, I think it is. Out on the full by Jason Martin. Oh, gee, another bad mistake by Paris. Martin will be kicking himself for that. It means it's a turnover. It was on the last. And so Perth, 41 metres out from the Paris line, commence their set. Fuller giving it away now to Brett Green. Green running hard, making 5 or 6 metres up the centre of the ruck before he was stopped by Bellamy. They get up to the 20-metre mark. Dale Fritz to play the ball. Sean Devine giving it away to Rodwell. Rodwell just giving a short pass on to Fleming, loses the ball as he was tackled. Driven to ground in a good tackle by Dion Bird. Bird probably making up for the miss that he had on Robbie Kearns a few moments ago when he got palmed away, and that was a tackle he had to make, Dion Bird, and made it well. Made Fleming lose the ball.
Yeah, it was straight out of the copybook too, the tackle. He really drove in with the right shoulder. Pretty tough to come up, or left shoulder it was, I'm sorry. He did extremely well, because it looked to everybody at the ground here as though he had been sidestepped, but making up for it in situations like that, one-on-one, it's a very difficult stage. But may do a little bit towards giving his teammates a little bit of extra confidence. But it's absolutely vital. This next set of 6 tackles, they continue rucks like that. Just make the yardage, land on their elbows and knees so that they're able to get up a little bit quicker, get to that 5th tackle and make sure that they've got a good clearing kick followed by a good chase.
Well, they're 30 metres out from their own line, but losing the ball and picked up again by Perth, and this is Matthew Fuller.
Get off him, running fire.
Fuller had Tristan Brady-Smith on the outside. It's Brady-Smith who goes in to be the dummy half and goes forward a few metres, so they're almost back up to the 20-metre mark. Fritz giving it away to Kearns. Losing the ball, Jared Miller couldn't pick it up. Paris will go in and clean up, picked up by David Lomax, and so Paris back in possession. Anthony Hancock to play it. Out of dummy half goes Bellamy. Ball to be played back. Jason Martin tackled immediately by Jared Miller. Matt O'Connor giving the pass back on the short side to pick up Jason Eade. Just look disorganised at the moment, though, Paris. They don't quite know where to run, and now Matt O'Connor on the last tackle uses the kick. And in the space of 2 minutes, we've seen 2 kicks from Paris, both go out on the full on the last. That's another changeover to Perth, and so Perth will get the ball back 40 up from the Paris line.
That wasn't within 15 metres of being close to not going out on the full. They're just simple errors you can't afford to go. If they find that they're going too quick at the moment, it's imperative that their coach Andy Goodway just gets a message out to the players to just settle down. Slow play right down, even if it's going to cost them a few metres in their own attack.
Darren Higgins is back on the field. Actually, the second rower had 6 stitches in his chin after last weekend's game. They were opened up, and it's been a quick doctor's job on the sideline. He's back, and Fritz is back on the bench.
So Perth running it to 20 metres out. Darren Higgins, having just come back, having been stitched up by the doctor, runs into a good old don't argue. Now this is Mark Geyer. Geyer getting to 12 metres out from the line. 5 tackles gone for Perth. Called for by Devine, then given away to Rodwell. Rodwell uses a little kick ahead. It'll be claimed by Paris. Dion Bird coming up with the ball 8 metres out from his own line. Phil Bergman. Good run by Bergman, getting away down the left wing. So Paris running it back towards the halfway mark. Jason Martin going in to be dummy half, just to be the playmaker for Paris. This is Anthony Hancock. Hancock trying to bust his way through. He gets inside Perth territory by a few metres. Back to Menkins. Craig Menkins to play it. Jason Martin showing it, holding the pass up, then giving it back across field. Jason Eade getting rid of it to Pierre Chamorin. Chamorin going infield, caught by Chris Ryan's tackle. Matt O'Connor. The kick is going to be too deep. Matt O'Connor's kick. Well, the kick before went out on the full. That time he made sure that he didn't put it out on the full, but he just weighted it a little too heavily, put it over the dead ball line.
John, I think I've got to give some sort of advice to a couple of the Paris guys, and one of them just on camera at that stage, Jason Martin. Every time he's running the football now, he's simply trying to draw a defender and put an outside attacker into the hole, and it is not working. Every time he's passing the ball, the catcher of the receiver of the football is getting smashed. It's about time he decided to run a couple of times himself to create a little bit of doubt in the mind of the defender. Every time he's running, the defenders at the moment know that he's going to pass the ball. He's going to start creating a little bit of, create more than a little bit of doubt, I suppose, and also try and get his own team by going forward. He is a good attacking player. We've seen him do that over a number of seasons.
Here he is, Jason Martin.
If he keeps passing the way he is, some of his teammates will end up in Royal Perth Hospital. A lot of the Paris boys are getting up from some of his passes, looking blankly at him as if to say, why on earth did you throw me that pill?
This is Menkins. Few metres inside Perth territory. The Reds leading by 12 points to 0 over Paris. O'Connor turning it back inside to Hancock. Running hard. Anthony Hancock runs into a solid tackle though from Mark Geyer.
Yeah, I think the real point that stands out at the moment, John, isn't it, that every time somebody from the Perth team, from the Paris team runs, it's an individual effort. There's not too many guys that are there in support play or to run into holes outside any other player except Jason. Every time Jason Martin takes the football.
Another kick by Matthew O'Connor. This one bouncing in the field of play, but then going touch and goal. Here it is again by the former Wallaby.
And didn't get missed.
Bowled over for his trouble.
Introducing him to the famer Gabba ground. Gabba ground, I've gone too far. To the Wacker ground. Extremely good.
Okay. This one I think it's worth penalty where the ball bounced. Okay. Jared, you've heard the touch, Joseph, mate. Also, with that 10 metres, mate, you're in front of me. Okay, there's a bit silly over here in a tackle there before. I could have penalised you as well, okay? So let's clean it up. Penalty over here. Yeah, hang on, mate.
Judges report Jared Miller, the lock forward from Perth, is the penalised player. And the penalty is where the ball landed, of course. That's Brett Green with a little bit of blood coming from the nose, and he'll go to the blood bin. Yes, but it's interesting. Where the ball landed after he was taken out late, Matt O'Connor, where the ball landed is where the penalty is given. And so the penalty is only some 5 metres out from the Perth line.
Now, this is the part that I can never understand. They do it that tough in getting up there. They're given a penalty, and they come back 15 metres to take a tap. They still haven't got within 3 metres of where the penalty was given.
Well, the interesting thing is, when the penalty is taken back, Perth are entitled to come up to 10 metres from that spot. They probably didn't know that they could, and it stayed back on the line. Now another penalty, and they're going to have a shot at goal. Paris. So the chance for Paris to put first points on the board, and it'll be Matt O'Connor who'll take the kick.
Involved in the tackle, Robbie Kearns, obviously thinking, well, I got away with it the first time, perhaps I'll get away with it again. Opening the opportunity for the Paris boys to get on the Wacker scoreboard. Probably raised a few eyebrows, the decision to perhaps take the 2 points, but early in the game it's not that bad a decision, I suppose, but if anything, the point's got to be made that they're either going to get the ball back one way or another. If they kick the goal, they're going to kick off, and have play right down this end of the field, and after 5 or 6 tackles, get the ball back at around about the halfway and be on the attack again. If it misses, of course, they're going to get the ball repossessed through a 20-metre dropout.
And the kick is there by Matt O'Connor. I suppose the other thing, Wally, that Paris are very, very cognizant of is their for and against. And the more points that they can put on the board, the more it's going to help their chances of getting through to the quarter-final. So I suppose they have to take every opportunity that comes their way. So Matt O'Connor kicks the penalty goal. And 12 points to 2 it is in favour of Perth. So the deep kick-off taken by Paris. The visitors would love now to force an error from Perth. John Wiltshire brings it back. Mark Geyer in the uncustomary role of dummy half. Don't see him into the dummy half spot very often.
Perth, Paris, should I say, have made their first replacement. As you guys predicted, it wasn't long before David O'Donnell was put into the side, and Troy Bellamy is having a rest.
And just off the bench for Perth, Fred Supatu just playing the ball now. Plays the ball back to Fuller. Throws it in behind Mark Geyer to pick up Matthew Geyer, who loses it. Loose on the ground. Dived on by Tristan Brady-Smith. Stacks on the mill at the moment. Eventually, Pierre Chamarin will come up with it. It's going to be a Paris ball, and this is Anthony Hancock. He's had a pretty good game, Hancock, the second rower. He's a well-built bloke, Anthony Hancock. And he's been one player who's been very willing to go forward for Paris. Paul Evans. Evans playing in the centres tonight for Paris, running out of dummy half, and now David O'Donnell, his first touch of the ball from dummy half. Let's see if he can really spark his side as Jason Martin trying to get on the outside of Darren Higgins. This tackle 30 metres out. Matt O'Connor turning the pass back to Wayne Singh. Singh on number 5 is put to ground by Supatu. Call for by Matt O'Connor, who's going to put up the high bomb. Wiltshire coming in from the wing. Geyer going up for it. Gee, there was almost a mix-up between the two of them. I don't know that there was really communication between the two. Both jumped for it. It was Matthew Geyer who came down with it.
Pretty well positioned kick. It was just far enough out from the try line to create a little bit of doubt in the minds of the Perth guys, but we really didn't look to be a lot of interest in from the Paris guys to get through and put a little bit of pressure on by simply jumping for the ball themselves.
Just over 14 minutes remaining in the first half here at the Wacker, and Perth leading by 12 points to 2 over Paris. Fights the possession. Jason Eade believes he's got it, and he has so. Ball lost by Perth, so Paris coming up with possession. They're 30 metres out from the Perth line. From O'Donnell away to Menkins. Menkins 25 metres from the line. Called for by Jason Martin, running at the angle, giving it to O'Connor. He sends his pass away to Lovac, turned inside to Evans and went forward. Just forward. Probably the referee not in the best position to see that, but I'm sure he got the call from the touch judge, who was in good position to say that it had just travelled forward. That's maybe, Wally, the influence of David O'Donnell into the side. Not much in it, but probably a correct ruling. I think you can see that David O'Donnell is just giving them some direction.
An old head on young shoulders, David O'Donnell. One very interesting battle coming up is Jason Martin and Matthew Rodwell, the two respective halfbacks. They, in fact, battled for the top-grade position at Newcastle when they were both starting their careers. Of course, the Johns boys are there now, but these two know each other, and there is a lot of feeling there too.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, both Nova Castrians, the two halfbacks, Matthew Rodwell and Jason Martin. And so Perth back in possession, and 12 on their own side of halfway. Supatu. Tackle made by Craig Menkins. Sean Devine giving his pass away for Rodwell to kick. Chase being led by Tristan Brady-Smith. The bounce, though, is going to favour Perth. Paris coming up with the ball, 32 out from their own line. From O'Donnell, away to Martin. Martin giving his pass on to Hancock. Kicked off in a good tackle by Mark Geyer. So Paris almost up to the halfway mark. From O'Donnell. O'Donnell just able to shoot a short pass away to Adam Peters. With Jason Martin showing it, running it, and then giving his pass to Dion Bird coming in from fullback. Good tackle made by Chris Wright. Martin on the short side. Uses the kick. That'll be a Perth ball. Tristan Brady-Smith going backwards and then chopped down by Matt O'Connor. 18 up from their own line, the Perth Reds. From Sean Devine, this is John Wilshire, just on his own 20. Fuller, a mix-up with Mark Geyer. Ball comes back to Paris. So a chance for Paris, only 20 metres out as the ball is played. It goes to Jason Martin, now to Paul Evans. Evans has Bergman on the outside of him. Impossible to get a pass away, though, there. Bergman is the dummy half. Now to O'Connor. O'Connor turns it back to Hancock. Ran into a fairly high tackle from Jared Miller. No damage done, though. Menkins. 8 metres up from the line. Best chance yet for Paris from O'Connor. Reverses it across field to Jason Martin. Well read though by Mark Geyer. Made the ball come free. It went backwards. Picked up by Paris. Now to David O'Donnell. O'Donnell gives it away to Hancock. Little bit of room to move. Loses the ball, Hancock. O'Connor will get it back, but it had gone forward by Hancock. Good defence by Perth. Under a little bit of pressure, they'll work this scrum. 15 out from their own line.
Well, the only thing that's missing from here at the moment are the sample bags, John. We've got everything else that's going on. It was a crunching tackle. Geyer certainly lined him up all the way. He was too keen to hang on to the ball on that occasion, Martin, but they're simply tossing it around. They've got to remember that they're still sitting on the second or the third tackle in that particular set of 6. They don't have to go panicking, but fluency really does seem to be a little bit of a problem for them, and but that's been eased a little bit at the moment for the Paris guys with O'Donnell's introduction to the ruck. But their one big problem has been, since the start of the game, a real defensive pattern. They're not playing a slide defensive pattern or an up and in. It seems to be more confusion than anything else that's controlling the middle of the ruck for them.
A new player on for Paris, Joe Taylor, has replaced Craig Menkins. Interesting little story about Joe Taylor. Only a youngster who was part of the master plan from Bob Fulton at Manly about 5 years ago to develop the juniors. He was from the same school, I guess, as the Nick Kosseffs, the Stephen Menzies, the Scott Fultons, the John Hopewades. He didn't get his chance at Manly. He went elsewhere.
Bill Bergman getting his pass away. And so Paris, 12 metres out from their own line, as Dion Bird, former Australian schoolboy Dion Bird, former Brisbane Bronco. Bringing it up just outside their own 20. O'Donnell distributing on the short side. Hancock to play it. To his feet slowly, Anthony Hancock. This is Joe Taylor. Big lump of a bloke, Joe Taylor. Only a youngster. As Andy Raymond said, a youngster, though, who had a fair bit of talent, was spotted by Bob Fulton early on, and now the penalty goes the way of Paris.
Well, this is going to be pretty interesting to see what the Paris guys come up with from this penalty restart. John, it really has been the standout feature of the game tonight, although not on the right side of the coin, that every time that they've had a restart from a tap play, it's almost got thrown away inside 2 tackles.
It's an interesting stat. Normally the penalties have favoured the home side, be they be playing in Europe or here in Australia. But tonight, 5-1 at the moment is Phil Bergman. Bergman makes a break. He's able to outsprint them. Phil Bergman, and he'll go in and score. And that is the break that Paris really needed. Phil Bergman goes in to score the try just next to the post. And Paris are right back in business. 12-6 it is with a kick to come.
And I'm pretty sure it's come from a bloke that Andy Raymond's just been describing what he's all about. A youngster, got a little bit of size on board, and a fella called Bob Fulton thought he could play football. He's certainly got that size. He got through, held himself very well. His balance in the tackle to simply offload. The support was there. And, gee, the speed off the mark with this bloke, he's got it all. Simply embarrassing Matty Geyer at fullback there. But a nice little offload. Gee, he certainly has got some size there. It was a nice bend. He missed him with the hand. He was going to get him with the elbow or shoulder, one of them. But the support play was quite good. And it's going to be interesting to see just how much confidence it blows in the Parisian tails.
There he is, Phil Bergman. As we said, the Kiwi looked upon originally as the successor to Gary Freeman as the Kiwi Test halfback, but playing on the wing now for Paris. A fair turn of speed. Here's Matt O'Connor. The kick successful by O'Connor, and so Perth leading Paris by 12 points to 8 with just under 7 minutes remaining in the first half.
Timely wrap there on Joe Taylor on screen at the moment. Joe's about at 112 kilos, I would suggest now. Would you believe me if I told you he's probably dropped about 12 or 14 since he was 17 years of age?
Ooh, gee. It was a very neat offload he got there too. It was an inside left-handed carry. They're pretty difficult to do, especially when he was standing on one leg. But John, that really has blown a lot more interest back into the difference in the game, the for and against, if the Paris guys are going to perhaps carry them all the way into those semi-finals.
That's put a bit of sting, I think, too, into the Paris defence, as evidenced by that tackle on Wiltshire. They were lucky, Perth, that when Wiltshire lost that ball, that he lost it backwards, and then it was play on. Here's Darren Higgins. Higgins on his own 30-metre mark. Fuller. Dummying, showing it, running himself, had Brett Green on the outside, but elected to take the tackle of Matt O'Connor. Ball lost by Higgins, kicked ahead though by Mark Geyer. It'll go over the touchline. Referee will call it back to the initial knock-off.
This really is confusing, this play. Darren Higgins has shown over the last couple of appearances here at the WACA that he's a very talented ball player. This one came his way now. I'm not sure whether it was originally planned for a face ball to be thrown across to Mark Guy, but he simply tried to tap it across and hope somebody else was going to grab it. And particularly when your side's just been cut to a 4-point lead, it's not the sort of thing that you want to do and offer them the opportunity to be able to get back and try and snatch the half-time lead with just 5 minutes remaining.
Wally, I think in defence of Darren Higgins, that happened right in front of me, and the ball was a line ball pass from the ruck area, and I think Darren Higgins was almost in two minds as to whether to catch it or not.
Wayne Singh unloading, back to David O'Donnell, dive forward and picked up then by Lomax and away to Martin. Martin will be taken to ground by Sean Devine. Couple of metres inside Perth's half, using the short side once more. This is Dion Bird. Bird losing the ball. Should be a Perth ball, it is. So Robbie Kearns, who was lying on the ground, the ball just fell straight into his lap. So Perth coming up with it, but immediately losing the ball, Perth, and Paris get it back. So just 38 metres out. This is Paul Evans, himself a former Perth Red, driven to ground by Darren Higgins. O'Connor. Giving just a short pass away, O'Connor. The player who picked it up with Adam Peters, he's probably sorry he did. He was crushed. Matt Singh just losing his footing. Now back away to Martin. Martin throwing the long ball out wide to Dion Bird and away to Bergman. Bergman getting down the touchline. Held on to only 8 metres out from the line and loses the ball, and so Perth will come up with it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see whether he actually lost that or threw it away. It was a nice ball that went across. They had the opportunity, of course, with still three tackles remaining in the ruck. Perhaps he got a little bit panicky and may have decided to try and offload it. Now simply coming out of his grasp once he hit the ground, but that really has thrown away a golden opportunity for the Tourists to grab that half-time lead. But if anything stands out, although that the match has turned into a little bit of a tight one, we just saw the errors that are there. That really is a disgraceful number to be able to put up in the screen before 40 minutes of football are completed.
And a very important 3 minutes remaining until half-time for both of these sides. Perth leading by 12 points to 8. Kick being put downfield by Perth. And it won't go into touch. Dion Bird eventually comes in and picks the ball up. Gives it back to Matt O'Connor. I don't know what Dion Bird was doing there.
I think that ball had a note on it here, do something. He certainly didn't want to take it away from there, did he? It was.
You have to remember that under the Super League rules, you get a zero tackle. Here's Phil Bergman. Bergman just being able to create a little bit of space down that left wing at the moment.
Well, that's right, John. He looked like he really wanted that ball to go over the sideline, didn't he? He wasn't interested in the start to even picking it up. But once it was clearly obvious that the ball wasn't going to go out, he had to pick it up. Another 6 tackles being given to the Parisians here. Gee, I think that was a little bit fortunate for them. To me, it looked like the ball was propelled forward.
Well, I did too. I thought that was certainly knocked on both ways. However, referee Tim Mander has played advantage. Not that if he thought it was knocked on both ways, he's entitled to play advantage, but he obviously thought it was touched initially by Perth. And so the tackle count restarted. O'Connor playing the ball. This is Joe Taylor, still standing and unloading back to O'Donnell, then to Martin in the hands of O'Connor. Quick ball given out wide now to Adam Peters. Peters starting to for support. Dion Bird just came the wrong way in attack.
Stand up and play the ball, mate. That's a couple of times now. Let's stand up and play the ball.
And the penalty going against Adam Peters for not playing the ball correctly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see just how much pressure was on the top half of his body. He looked like that he was doing his best to get up and play the ball quickly for teammates. Well, turn it up. If he didn't have a little bit of extra weight on his back on that occasion from Darren Higgins, it's a tough decision to that one. Now, the referees have really been pushing this rule forward over the last couple of weeks, and they've got to be congratulated to a certain extent over doing it. The bloke simply just trying to throw the ball between their legs and hope somebody will continue a speedier play. But there are occasions, of course, that really, such as that one, there was no chance in the world he had an opportunity to be able to stand up and maintain his balance while playing the ball correctly out of the book.
Matt Rodwell almost getting through. Shamarin made a last-ditch tackle, but Perth attacking as it comes to Sean Devine. Devine taken by Lomax, plays the ball. There was nobody in a dummy half initially. Jared Miller, and then Greg Fleming had to come in and pick it up. And Fleming busting his way through. Gave it back again to Matt Fuller. Fuller going for the line and scores a crucial try. His second try, Matt Fuller, inside the last minute of the first half. Perhaps a little bit of luck associated with the try, but Fuller goes in to score a try that in the long term of this game could be vital as far as the outcome's concerned.
Yeah, and they're the guys that have really run the cornella for the Regs team at the moment. Speed off the mark was the thing that opened the opportunity on that occasion. Did extremely well. Fleming, of course, he was the guy that scored the first try. Opened the opportunity for support play. Fuller backing up. He was the guy that scored the second try. And the teamwork for this too has allowed Fuller to grab try number 3 for Perth and really put them to a quite handy half-time lead. But when you look at the time that was on the clock when that ball was put down, it was denied, I suppose, the French guys, or the Paris team is probably a better way of putting it, the Paris team a real chance of being able to grab this match. Disappointment, one simple mistake, which I honestly believe was more the fault of the officialdom rather than the players themselves.
Sean Devine, his attempt to convert Matthew Fuller's second try, and just looking at Matthew Fuller when he scored that try. I guess every player loves to score a try. They like scoring doubles, particularly hookers. Probably doesn't score all that many doubles in a game, Matthew Fuller, but I think there's a little bit of feeling in this game. The Perth side, having been beaten 24-0 by this Paris outfit a few weeks ago, I think they know that they've got a point to prove. That was evidence in the face of Matt Fuller after he scored. Here's Devine. The kick successful by Sean Devine. And so that try coming in the last minute of the first half kicks the Perth Reds away to a 10-point lead at the break. Perth 18, leading Paris Saint-Germain 8 at half-time here at the Wacker. And I'm sure that...
So Perth Reds just about in control at half-time, courtesy of that late try. But really, PSG only have themselves to blame. Perth have punished the Paris errors. We'll take a look back at those first half mistakes after the break with our guest, Tony Ray.
Wembley is preparing. The fans are ready. The waiting is over.
He absolutely drilled them.
It's Manchester United.
Roberto Di Matteo
Versus Chelsea in the FA Charity Shield, the curtain raiser for the new football season. Premiership champions.
Their fourth title in 5 years.
Against FA Cup holders.
It's Chelsea's FA Cup.
Ford Football Special, Sunday at 2:30, just part of a great weekend's football live on Sky Sports.
I'm John Stalker. When you get home in filthy weather, especially after dark, the last thing you need is to leave your car and grapple with a cumbersome garage door. Nationwide have an ideal automatic door to welcome you effortlessly home and dry. Drivers all over Britain are discovering Nationwide automatic garage doors. To find out more, ring us now on 0800 600 777. Your call and your brochure are free.
Buy a large Pantene shampoo and we'll treat you to a free 200ml conditioner. So now we're being as good to you as we are to your hair. Nothing treats hair like Pantene.
A poem about snogging by Purple Ronnie. I like to swig some Vimto before I snog my girlie. It makes my lips taste smashing, which makes her head go swirling. Put a Vimto smile on your face.
I can't believe how many lettuces that bloke's buying. I mean, he has got to be Vegetarian of the Year.
Nobody's doing more to improve freshness than Safeway.
Oh, silly me. He's swapping them for new ones.
And now we've shortened the time over 100 of our fruit and veg lines are on the shelf, we can actually guarantee they'll stay fresher in the home for longer.
How long do you reckon these plums will last then, Joe?
About 5 minutes the way you pile them in, Molly Moo.
The Safeway quality and freshness promise.
I'm puzzled, my British chums. Why are you always saying sorry? I bump into you, you say sorry. I step on your toe, you say sorry. I take your parking space, you say sorry. Then I discovered Roundtree's fruit pastil lolly. At last, something you don't have to be sorry about. As opposed to your cricket, your string vests, your Morris dancers, an intensely fruity experience on a very British stick.
Aquafresh has 3 stripes of protection. 1, for us mouths and our little ones, there's fluoride. To help keep our teeth strong. 2, brushing helps protect us from those tiny nasties that may cause gum disease. And 3, fresh breath. That's all-round family protection from Aquafresh.
Your life camped out by that fax machine. Why are you the first one in and the last one out, dear?
Why does that computer look like it's your boss? Why not change the way we work? With a BT ISDN line, there's no need to fax or byte documents. Information simply flows between computers in seconds. Call BT now and save £80 on connection.
Half-time at the Wacker, it's Perth Reds 18, Paris 8. Tries from Fleming, 2 from Matthew Fuller, and 3 goals from Sean Devine for Perth. For Paris, a solo try from Phil Bergman and 2 goals from Matt O'Connor. But really, Paris only have themselves to blame for a catalogue of errors. And Tony Ray with us in the studio. Tony, I should think that the PSG coach, Andy Goodway, will be fuming at half-time.
Yeah, he'd be absolutely ropeable. I think there must be nothing more frustrating for a coach than to be sitting there looking at a game that you know you should be in front, you should be controlling, but mistakes and poor judgment and fundamental errors are letting you down and keeping you out of it. I think particularly the last try, I know it was a good run from the Perth forwards, but there was simple tackles, one-on-one, that should have been made with 40 seconds to go. There should be a bit more desperation there to hold them out. Different ball game if you go in at 12-8, gives the coach something to work off. I think he'd be looking for them to score some first points in this one and take it to 18-14 and work from there.
But really, I mean, the trouble started in the very first set of 6, I think, when they dropped the ball and presented Perth with the scoring opportunity.
Yeah, I've got to agree with what the commentators were saying, that they lacked a lot of direction, and even there was an untidy pass behind him from Matt O'Connor. He's a very competitive player, but a player that just needed to show a bit more poise in those opening exchanges, put the ball right on the chest of his very hungry forwards. And I think it was either Singh or Lomax. I couldn't make out who it was who did drop the ball, but fundamental error, and they paid dearly for it, as they have done all night.
Well, in June, Paris beat Perth Reds 24-0, but they never really looked like nilling them this time, especially when they made mistakes like this one that led to the second try.
Yeah, you're just throwing the game at them, you know, you're giving them every opportunity. The game's about gaining momentum, and they didn't do that, Paris, at any stage. And he's a great player, Robbie Kearns. He's in good form. He just loves hooking into it and has a real go, and Matt Fuller backed up superbly. Once again, it was a fundamental one-on-one from Dion Bird at full-back that he typically makes every time a player comes at him. At that time, he missed him. He put them under some pressure, gave Fuller the opportunity to get there, and they scored a good try. Bit of full credit there to Robbie Kearns. It's his comeback game, and he is really hooking in and enjoying it.
One player who did that for Paris in the first half was Phil Bergman. Several good runs from the little winger, and he got his reward, didn't he?
Very much so. Very elusive, isn't he? Very quick. A former halfback. We've seen that on a number of occasions, that halfbacks can move out to the wing. Clever play for him to be there. There's no point him hanging out on his wing. He realises, obviously, Joe Taylor has got a good offload there. So it wasn't just a fluke, it was some good rugby league sense and skills there from Phil Bergman to trail him up and be in the right place at the right time. And geez, he showed some speed.
Well, at that stage, Paris were right back into it because O'Connor kicked the goal. It was 12-8, and they'd gained a bit of confidence. And really, what they needed to do was consolidate and not let Perth in. And that's exactly what they did just before the break.
You know, 40 seconds from half-time, 12-8 the score. You know, you just work a little bit harder. Fleming, a player that before the game was threatened with, was told he had to perform well if he wants a contract for next year. So he's a very hungry player. Stepped through, there was enough defenders there, but they just should have come up with the play. They should have tackled him. Fuller was well open, and he's playing well, Matt Fuller. He's always Johnny on the spot for them, and he's come up with 2 good tries through his own personal effort. So full credit to Perth. They've taken the opportunities that Paris have presented them. Paris, pretty easy to fix. Cut out the mistakes. The kicking game's been terrible. You know, the commentators over there, Wally Lewis, you know, they call him the king. He's one of the greatest players ever, and he's calling it perfectly. He's spotting the errors correctly. It's enjoyable to sit back and listen to their comments and read the game as easily as it is.
Well, I said that Perth were in control, and you looked at me and you disagreed with that. You don't think that Paris are out of the hunt totally?
Definitely not. You know, I think it's so easy for them to improve in this game. The kicking game has been terrible. The mistakes have been fundamental and just inexcusable. David O'Donnell has added a new dimension. I think the halves in O'Connor and Jason Martin are very tenacious. I love to have the competitive spirit in every one of your players, but they're not organisers. I've played with Jason in Australia and I loved playing with him, but he just needed a good controlling 5'8" outside him. He hasn't got that in Matt O'Connor. David O'Donnell's come in and steadied the ship and made it a little bit easier for them. So I think Andy Goodway's got a lot to work with in this 10 minutes of half-time. He'll be talking about a bit more control and poise in the kicking game, keeping their line, keeping the centre of the ruck nice and tight, and I'm sure that they can come back into this. The key is to score first. If they can score first, take it to 18-14 within a few minutes and it'll be okay.
So Paris maybe not out of the hunt. What they need is a bit more dynamics, maybe the sort that Phil Bergman showed in that first half. It's Bergman's try that's given Paris a little bit of hope. Anyway, they trail by 18 points to 8 at the break, but maybe they can pull it back in the second half. Join us to find out.
Smuggler in your head?
Where those who control the information control the world.
You locked on him. Initiate files.
Everybody wants what is stored in Johnny Mnemonic's brain.
They were waiting for me, Ralphie. Whatever's in my head is worth a lot of money.
Keanu Reeves.
You can't shoot. Not in the head.
The British television premiere of Johnny Mnemonic. 10 o'clock Saturday on the Movie Channel.
Contact 047, sighting flag Sierra, fairing at 800. Designate contact master 28.
Alert 1, request permission to authenticate.
What? Where? Oh no.
We cannot allow this to happen. Strategic missile launch. Launch!
Carlsberg. Probably the best lager in the world.
Cordula roller shutters provide exceptional security. And this summer, we'll offer free fitting to provide you with even lower prices. Phone 0870 123 234 for your free Cordula brochure now. And don't miss out on this exceptional offer. Cordula remote control garage doors can now be purchased with no charge for fitting this summer only. Phone 0870 123 234 for details and your free Cordula brochure now. All Cordula products are available with no charge whatsoever for fitting this summer. That means big savings on list prices. Phone 0870 123 234 for details and your free Cordula brochure now. That's 0870 123 234.
I couldn't think of any other time it would have happened. I mean, most shops you go into, the price would be perfectly clear.
until you bought a pair of these. Tough, really. You'd spend ages choosing the frame which really suited you, you know, price ticket on and everything. And then you'd find you had to add on the price of the flipping lenses. But before you knew it, you were talking serious cash. Think about the punter. That's what I say.
At Specsavers Opticians, we have a clear pricing policy. All our spectacles are displayed at prices including frames, plus our single vision lenses. So you know the complete price before you buy. Specsavers Opticians. Now you can believe your eyes.
I didn't spend as much as I expected on my car insurance with the AA. But that doesn't mean to say he's getting what's left. AA car insurance costs less than I thought.
Call direct on 0800 444 777. Some newspaper lottery games make you share your dream. With the Telegraph Lottery Society, you could win millions and keep it all to yourself.
The World Superbike Championship.
Number 4 on the charge.
Live from Brands Hatch.
Come on, Buckety.
Fired by the passion to win. The man they all want to see.
And don't they love him?
In tune, in balance, in the race for the title, the ultimate test for man and machine.
Double world champion at work, folks.
The World Superbike Championship Round 7, Sunday at 11:30, live on Sky Sports 3.
Saint-Germain trailing by 18 points to 8 at the Wacker to the Perth Reds. Tony, we've said that Andy Goodway will be blistering the paint in the Paris dressing room. He's maybe finished doing that. He's maybe been a bit more constructive. What's his message going to be?
Cut the mistakes out, get your kicking game right, put some pressure back on the opposition and get in and score first. Then keep the momentum up and try and take it from there. Get it to 18-14 and then they've got something to work from.
Well, PSG have shown in that first half that when they cut the errors out, they can cause Perth problems. Let's see if they can do that in the second half. We'll rejoin our commentary team, John McCoy and Wally Lewis at the Wacker.
But I think the coaches would have been out there having a go at their guys at half-time and probably in stinging roles and at the same time mentioning to them exactly what they've got to be able to go out there with in the second half to gain a little bit of extra confidence and also make sure that they don't give up a little bit too easy. For the Paris guys, I think that, I think the suggestion is that they concentrate on a much simpler attacking pattern, especially when they're carting the ball away from their own line. I think they should to really adopt a role of continuing across the roles, across the field in rucks. Just a suggestion, if they've got the ball closest or nearest the closest sideline here, that they take 4 or 5 rucks all the way across the field, just a rolling type of play. What that does is that it guarantees everyone knows what's going on, and it gives every player a certain role to play in that certain attacking plan, and at the end of it, it'll make sure that they've got a pretty important job to do. The locals, though, the Perth guys, I think their only problem is that they've been a little bit too confident. No disrespect or insults meant, but they believe that they can score too easily. A couple of occasions they have scored very, very easily, but I think it's important that they base a lot of their game around their kicking game.
So the second half underway. Let's take you down to the sideline. Peter Parr, the assistant coach to Dean Lance with the Perth Reds. Peter, what did Dean have to say at the half-time break?
He's not very happy at all. Actually, we were quite disappointed with our first half performance. Our completion rate was nowhere near high enough, and he's very, very disappointed with our lack of intensity in the first half.
And you think it's a little bit of a problem when you've seen the way that the game started off? A simple try coming without even 2 minutes on the board. That probably took a little bit of steam away from the guys and their concentration levels dropped.
I think so. We scored 2 easy tries in the first few minutes of the game, but these blokes are professional footballers, and to take the easy way out and the soft options that we've been taking is just not on, and we're not happy with some of the options we took in attack, and to only complete less than 50% in the first half of the football game is just not on in our books.
Good on you. Thanks, Peter. Peter Parr from the Perth Reds. Dean Lance not happy, and that's not surprising. Well, Perth are in possession. They're 25 metres out now from the Paris line as Rodwell runs it and almost got through a gap and then draws the penalty. Tim Mander telling Paris that he gave them every chance to get back their 10, and they didn't.
No, it was a hint, but it wasn't. 2 points.
So Matthew Rodwell says to Tim Mander that they'll have the shot at goal. He'll give it back to Sean Devine. Yes. For the attempted penalty goal. And Devine will take him back just over the 20-metre mark, and he's in some 12 metres from touch. And as Sean Devine lines up this kick, let's take you down to the Paris Saint-Germain coach, Andy Goodway. Andy, that try just before the half-time break, as far as your chances of making the finals and knowing for and against is vital, it could be crucial.
Yeah, I sent a message on with a couple of minutes to go on. I said, let's just settle it down and just slow everything down a little bit before half-time so we didn't concede the try. You know, and some of our defence has been woeful at times.
I think both teams probably want to concentrate, Andy, a little bit as well on their attacking play, handing over simple options when there hasn't been a lot of pressure put on by the defenders is probably the most disappointing option for both coaches.
Yeah, I think we've just, you know, but I think both sides, particularly Paris, have forgot to play again. You know, it's we've got to learn to use the possession that we get and the position that we get and use the ball smarter. That's the idea of the game, you know. When we do turn the ball over in our turn, that's the way it's got to be.
So what about the most important plan from you at half-time, Andy? What was your instructions to the guys that was the number one issue that they try and maintain?
Well, the number one issue that I said to the players that, you know, some of the players are not showing the responsibilities that they're supposed to be. And I just told them to just have a little think and, you know, if they wanted to play or they just wanted to watch. And, you know, we've got a couple of players that are really busting a gut and a few that aren't. So we'll see how they shape up this second half.
Thanks, Andy. I'll let you get back to your side.
You're welcome.
Andy Goodway, the very cooperative coach of Paris Saint-Germain. And another 2 points going the way of Perth, so they now kick away to lead by 20 points to 8. The Perth Reds over Paris, and Paris just outside their own 20. Paul Evans running into dummy half, giving it away to Matt Singh. Singh gets out to his own 30 before he was tackled by Devine. Jason Martin taking it to the line, switching it back inside to Lomax, loading back to Jason Martin. Nowhere to go for him, though. Picked up and dumped by Mark Geyer and then thrown to ground a second time by MG. Here's Matt O'Connor using the kick, which eventually will sneak into touch. Finds touch 35 out from the Perth line.
Haven't seen one, mate. Haven't seen one.
Matt O'Connor, the former Australian rugby union representative, a Wallaby.
Kicking game coming out for the French guys there, but especially for John, that really is a point that I think that the Perth guys have got to place a lot more importance on in their own game. Not trying to score from every time they get the ball in a set of 6 tackles, simply working away and even taking the option of taking 3 or 4 rucks up and kicking. We've got a situation out here at the moment where we've got no Paris fullback at home. He spends quite a deal of the time simply basing himself about 2 metres behind the forwards in defence. If there was a long kick coming in, he'd certainly be giving away 30, 40 metres on every occasion.
Robbie Kearns, who has been the real go-forward man as far as Perth's concerned tonight. And now this is Mark Geyer, held on to by David O'Donnell. A few metres inside Paris territory. Sean Devine using the little kick, being chased by Wiltshire. It'll go into touch just inside the Paris quarterway.
I don't think that went anywhere near where he wanted the ball to go. It was quite a smart play where they reversed the ball across the face of the ruck. Devine's kick going there and looked like it wobbled a little bit too close to the touchline that he had originally planned, because there were 4 or 5 players, including a very, very speedy winger, John Wiltshire, that was chasing the ball through. And he had definite plans to be able to grab the ball and post it over the chalk.
And it stayed in the field of play. Wiltshire was definitely going to win the race, but it didn't stay in the field of play, and Paris come up with possession. Phil Bergman playing it. He was the try scorer for Paris Saint-Germain. Just inside their own half, the Parisians. To Jason Martin. Switching it back inside to Joe Taylor. This time they do get Taylor to ground. I think that's the first time, in fact, they've actually got him on the ground. Taylor.
No way, mate. No way. The onus is on you. Onus is on you. Don't.
So the penalty having gone to Paris, and then a little bit of back chat by Perth. Not releasing the tackle player initially, and then the mark was advanced 10 metres. So Paris get up to the Perth 20 through Jason Martin. Martin giving it away to O'Connor, showing it, dunning, almost getting through. Darren Higgins it was who wrapped him up. Martin going to the line, turning it back to Matt Singh coming straight. Good tackle though by Robbie Kearns. Martin running at the angle, early in the tackle count, kicks ahead Jason Martin, and is able to get the bounce and put the ball down over the line. Jason Martin scores the try for Paris. Smart thinking by little Jason Martin. It was early in the tackle count. Perth didn't expect to grab a kick so early on. He got a favourable bounce and scored the try, Jason Martin. 20-12 it is. Kick to come for Paris.
And that's what it's all about, creating doubt in the mind of the defenders. On that occasion, he knew he was going to run the football. He went across. Didn't look like he took too many other options other than he had that quite well planned right from the start. Did extremely well. Gee, it looked like he could have almost put that ball down centimetres short on the line and didn't actually get there. It's very easy to judge when you're on the normal speed of a replay, but he positioned that ball perfectly, weighted it very well. We've seen halfbacks, of course, bring that sort of play into the game perfectly. The Alan Langers, the Ricky Stewarts over the last couple of years, and it has become a real trait of halfbacks play, a definite skill that has become one of the most appreciated from viewers.
It's interesting that the referee, Tim Mander, didn't elect to go to the video referee tonight, Ian Parnaby. He must have felt he had a clear view himself that Jason Martin had got the ball down probably just on the white line. Deserved a try, though, by Jason Martin. Was smart thinking by him. 20 points to 12. And O'Connor with the attempted conversion. Kick by O'Connor, just waved away. Struck it pretty well. But just away by O'Connor, no goal. So 20 points to 12 it remains.
I'm glad I'm not a touch judge. Certainly take a visit to the optometrist in the morning. He angled himself very well across that ruck there. But how did the ball... Well, let's say it's very close. The points are on the board, so stop whinging. Let's watch a very exciting game of footy.
20 points to 12. Perth after the restart, just out from their own 20. Matthew Fuller, who scored 2 tries, running it and then showing it and giving his pass back on the inside to Dale Fritz. Dropped by Chris Ryan, knock on by Perth. Chris Ryan forward, just filling the ball, knocking it forward.
And John, hasn't this been the real point that stood out more than anything else in the rule changes? Oh, gee, it looked like there was a little bit of closed eyes play going on there. It wasn't a really good pass to be thrown. But of course, the rule changes were made to make sure that that one team weren't going to get possession all the time. This one, where the try scorers kick off, the pressure goes straight back on the team that just conceded the try if they make another mistake, which quite often happens in one-sided games. It really doesn't seem to be too much of a good rule change for those teams.
Hancock wasn't able to take the ball. It went backwards and then was dived on by David Lomax. Misses Hancock. He's 30 metres out from the Perth line. David O'Donnell running it and giving it to Taylor right on the advantage line. 25 out from the line. Back to O'Donnell. Now with Jason Martin. Martin showing some doubt again to the Perth defence. He throws the long face ball out to Phil Bergman. Held on to in the tackle of Wiltshire. 20 metres out, Paris. The kick being put across field. The high bomb by Jason Martin. Matt Geyer goes up for it, Matthew Geyer, and took it well and then brings it back out to his own 20.
Did extremely well to catch the ball on that occasion because he knew that he was under a fair bit of pressure if he dropped the ball. He had plenty of teammates around, and that's one creditable point for the Reds on that occasion. There was about 4 or 5 of them making sure that Geyer wasn't under enormous weight from the opponents, but on the other side of it, there weren't a lot of the Paris guys bothering to chase through either. The good point about it, they probably finished at Martin's kick.
Getting towards halfway. Perth, in fact, just getting over the halfway mark. Ball to be played back by Greg Fleming. Geyer giving it back to John Wiltshire, trying to sneak down the blindside wing. His opposite winger, Phil Bergman, makes the tackle on him. Sean Devine. Devine using the high kick. The chase is coming through from Perth. The ball's bounced. It's going into the in goal. It's been tapped down. It's going to be dived on by Chris Ryan. He's got the ball down. The referee will go to the video replay. Perth think they've scored the try. Chris Ryan is pretty sure he's got it, but referee Ian Parnaby will be called on to check.
We'll have a look out there, mate. I'm just a little bit worried about...
Not quite mentioning the point that he was looking for on that occasion, but I think the Perth guys realised that this was a very ordinary attempt to try to catch the ball when the ball went into the air. And there wasn't, there was one particular Paris player that didn't have a lot of confidence about catching the ball, nor determination to get within QE of it. Was hoping somebody else was going to catch it. And the replay, by his lack of confidence, has just cost his side another 4 points.
Easy decision for Ian Parnaby to make a try to Perth. Much to the delight of the Perth supporters. And the Perth Reds lead by 24 to 12. Here it is again. The kick being put high by Sean Devine. Perth chasers were onside. Ball spilt by Chamarin. Then Dion Bird and Chamarin attempt to knock it backwards over the dead ball line. Chris Ryan, though, coming through, chasing, was able to dive on it just before. And fair try to Perth, 24 to 12 it is.
Well, you've certainly got to take your hat off to his performances over the last couple of weeks, Sean Devine. He's done it extremely well, particularly when you've got a guy in the team like Matthew Rodwell, who was classed as one of the better kickers of the football in the game over the last 3 or 4 years. He did it enormously well for the clubs that he played for, and having seen some of his performances and his kicking style with the football, I must say I'm a little bit surprised that somebody else had the opportunity to kick the ball on the side. But seen 2 of his games over the last 3 weeks, Devine, and certainly they've got the right guy kicking the footy at the moment.
4 from 4 before that kick by Sean Devine, so that now is 4 from 5. His first miss of the evening, and Perth lead Paris by 24 points to 12 here at the Wacker.
And another replacement for the Reds. Robbie Kearns gets his chance to have a spell. There he is, and Fred Saputo is back on.
So Robbie Kearns has been having a good match tonight for Perth. Both taking the ball up. His hit-ups have been probably outstanding for Perth, and his defence has been very solid indeed. But he gets a break. It's Fred Saputo comes off the reserves bench for the Perth Reds. Paris losing the ball, Hancock losing it. The ball went backwards, but the referee will say that initially there was a knock-on, even though after the initial knock-on it went backwards and was dived on by Pierre Chamarin. But Anthony Hancock making the mistake.
Well, there wasn't a lot of concentration on that ball. Pretty obvious to see that once the ball bounced off the shoulder, it wasn't the world's best pass either, that full concentration on the defender was poised. There certainly wasn't a lot on the football itself.
Tristan Brady-Smith just inside the Paris 20 to play. Up the short side goes Matt Dyer.
Go off him, Ringo.
Fuller giving his pass to Dale Fritz. Fritz trying to get his way through. Plays the ball back to Fuller, now to Rodwell, then it goes to Devine, short pass on to Mark Dyer. Dyer taken by little Jason Martin, only 5 out from the line. Devine runs himself from dummy half. 5 tackles gone for Perth. Fuller wasn't expecting that ball. Now it comes back to Fred Saputo. Saputo going for the line and held on to, in fact, loses the ball just as he tried to get his way through the Paris defence. It was on the last, and Paris come up with possession, and Chamarin to play it 10 out from his own line.
And I think a lot of the Paris fans, well, what there are here, the Frenchman on board, they're pretty happy that he just decided to take the ball towards the football, because if...
Okay, you had his tackle. You had the tackle.
The tackle being called by the referee, but if the Frenchman had decided to throw the ball wide, they had around about 5 players up against just one defender on the Paris side, which was covering 20-25 metres of territory.
So the penalty and the tap taken by Paris, and Joe Taylor uses the big don't argue to try and bump away from Green and Saputo. Up the middle comes Wayne Singh with a hard run. Equally tough tackle, though, as he's driven to ground. It was a good tackle made by Dale Fritz. Back to Martin, run around with O'Donnell, David O'Donnell. Got through the first line of defence. 32 metres out is where he'll play. David Lomax. Lomax taking it almost to the 20. No support with him, though. He looked desperately to unload his pass. Couldn't get it away. From Matt O'Connor to Martin on the short side. Martin dummies. Well read, though, by the Perth defence. They weren't going to fall for the dummy, and Mark Geyer takes him. 5 tackles gone. Here's the last. Back to O'Connor. O'Connor looking to kick. Now caught in traffic. Gives the pass. Eventually, it'll be taken by David Lomax. Tacked, though, by Perth. 6 tackles to go. So Paris with they make a mistake, and David O'Donnell knocks on.
Is that the bloke we've been saying? Get him on there. He works well from dummy half.
Put the mocker on him.
Well, gee, it was something that he obviously believed that there was a gap a little bit wider. It was quite a speedy play the ball, but David was probably the first one to admit that he really didn't have himself in prime position to be able to pick the ball up and take the first step away from the ruck play.
So a real let-off for Perth, and that was the opportunity that Paris was looking for. Tackle count restarting right in centre field. The opportunity to attack on either side. You're only 20 metres out. Dummy half. They are the coach kids. John Wilshere. And another penalty.
Playing both ways. Pushing it down. Don't go forward. Don't walk forward.
Commander giving the penalty against the Paris defence, pushing the tackle player down. Let's watch it again. Phil Bergman was the tackler and Taylor coming over the top.
He's called it. Well, I've got to bring up a point there. He's penalised him there for pushing him down. I seem to remember a fairly clear incident in that half, in the first half of football, where Paris were on the attack, and exactly the same example of that ruck play happened. The penalty went against Paris for not playing the ball correctly, and within 90 seconds, the Reds had scored a try at the other end of the field to dash away to a 12-point half-time lead.
So Perth attacking as they start to spread it wide to Rodwell, gives it back inside to Fuller, then quickly across field through first of all Jared Miller, on to Devine, back to Jared Miller. Miller standing in the tackle, no one to give the pass back to. Sean Devine injured in back play for Perth as Rodwell runs it and then gives a pass only 10 metres up. That's where the ball is going to be played by Perth. To his feet. Ball played by Matt Geyer. This is Mark Geyer. Geyer getting those big arms free. Tackled on number 5, MG. Kick forward, but into the in goal. Matthew Fuller it was kicking the ball forward. Dived on by Perth in goal by Matt O'Connor.
I've got him. No, just wait. Let's just walk out here for a tick. Let's just walk out here for a tick. No, you're just not worried about that at the moment. Just wait. Matt, when he goes in the goal area, he puts the ball on the ground. It's grounded, okay? Listen. So it's not like the normal field of play, okay? So it's a late tackle, we're going to penalise you for it. Okay?
So there's the ruling by referee Tim Mander. Probably an interesting one here. You're not allowed to play the ball forward. The marker can't play the ball forward, but the player who goes into dummy half can. Kick forward by Matt Fuller. Probably smart thinking. It didn't come off for him, but you don't see that very often this season.
Yeah, he did well. And the referee, of course, explaining that once the fullback dived on the ball in the in-goal area, he actually forced it, which meant that the ball was on the ground. So
now player injured at Sean Devine. He's walking just towards Andy Raymond.
Sean Devine, I thought it was Freddie Kruger. There's a little bit of claret coming from the nose of Devine. He went down after a tackle. He was also clutching his right shoulder blade. On for him as young Damien Chapman.
So Damien Chapman on for Sean Devine as we reach the midway point of the second half. Perth leading Paris by 24 points to 12 here on Fox Sports from the Wacker ground in Perth. Matt O'Connor, his pass away to David Lomax. It was just line ball. In fact, it looked from this angle that it had gone just forward. David O'Donnell tackled. Jason Martin giving his pass away now to Adam Peters. 5 tackles gone on the last. The kick by Paul Evans. Evans driving it in behind Tristan Brady-Smith, and it goes into touch 10 metres out from the Perth line.
Yeah, and it's one of the few times that they've managed to put together a good set of 6 tackles, which has been creamed at the end by a fairly creative kick. So now that they've got play down at the other end of the field, of course we've seen that many mistakes coming, handling mistakes and simple handling mistakes in the game. Paris can feel pretty confident that they might be able to come up with something creative from this stage as we see Mark Geyer leaving the field. He's probably doing it a little bit tough down there, Andy. It's been a couple of weeks since he's had a tough run.
Yeah, a little bit of huffing and puffing coming from the big fella. Darren Higgins has gone onto the field, and also Hancock has come off for the Paris side with Troy Bellamy going back onto the field.
And a mistake being made by Perth. The pass ruled to have gone forward by referee Tim Mander. So this is only 12 metres out from the Perth line. Just a Paris player who's down injured at the moment.
Yeah, there was the pass, and I don't think there was any doubt whatsoever that it just sailed around about half a metre forward. Probably a little bit fortunate that the referee was there, or the touch judge were right on hand to call that, because no doubt in the world it would have been around about 80 metres covered before a try was scored. But there's a little bit of action out there in the field at the moment. I think those last couple of minutes where we've seen a couple of good hits around, and of course the in-goal incident that we saw just a few moments ago, and Sean Devine just showing, he's showing everybody exactly what the problem he's got at the moment. So there's a bit of feeling getting out there at the moment. I think the Paris guys probably have been reminded the importance of their for and against and how that's going.
Jason Martin running the ball from the base of the scrum, but then was caught by Jared Miller, breaking from lock forward, knocked Jason Martin over, made him lose the ball. And in fact, he's gone down injured now after tried to get that ball away, and Jason Martin just down receiving attention from the Paris trainer. It was a good covering tackle by Jared Miller. He had to get out of the scrum quickly, the lock forward. Made a smothering tackle on Jason Martin that knocked the ball free.
Yeah, and for all young guys watching the game, that's exactly what lock forward position is all about. Of course, it used to be one of the most important roles associated with the position. Johnny Raper, in his era, had the game and the role all virtually to himself, a famous cover defending player. And really, when you get a guy that's got speed to get out of the scrum like that and really deny opponents the chance to be able to get closer to the line, it certainly makes you feel a heck of a lot more confident.
Well, really a comedy of errors. We've seen, what, 3 scrums almost on the same spot within the space of a couple of minutes from handling errors early in the tackle count to both sides. This is Darren Higgins for Perth. Higgins 35 up from his own line. Chapman turning it back inside to Sipatu. Good tackle made by Joe Taylor. Back to Damien Chapman. Chapman kicking. Oh, the ball's going to be knocked on by Dion Bird. Dion Bird at fullback for Paris. Had plenty of time to take that ball. Makes the mistake, draws the error, and the chance now for Perth to feed a scrum only 20 out from the Paris line.
With all these mistakes from Paris, I'm going to give you a French lesson here. I think the Perth boys must be giving them the merci beaucoup. I'm also getting another lesson in French. Right next to me, the Paris side. On y va, Paris! Go Paris, they're saying.
Brett Fleming, 12 metres out. He'll play it back to Chapman. Damien Chapman right from dummy half and almost sneaks through. He was caught by Singh only 2 metres out from the line. Quickly across field to Sipatu. Gives his pass now to Darren Higgins. The tackle is made on him by Jason Martin and Pierre Chamorin. Across field and now through Fuller. Then on to Brett Green. Held on to 9 metres out in centre field and driven to ground by Adam Peters. Now away, given by Rodwell. Rodwell giving his pass on to Ryan. Chris Ryan on tackle number 5, 8 metres from the line. Now to Damien Chapman once more. The grubber kick into the in-goal. Dion Bird this time takes it. Held on to in-goal. And a goal line drop out to the Parisians.
Well, he certainly has been an entertaining player every time he's got the ball in their hands. Dashing, of course.
For London, the quarterfinals beckon as Barwick starts this match. Sunshine in the far corner, grey skies overhead, and that's the young man who was sent off, Steve Reardon, at Wigan on Monday evening. James Pickering taking it in, greeted by the tackle from Mike Seaby. Good, strong defence from this London Broncos outfit. Now Pickering again will drive the ball upfield.
That's been a great feat. The London Broncos of late is their defence, moving as one unit.
And that was the fullback, Silva. It was Craig Polamanta, I beg your pardon, kicking downfield on the 4th tackle. So it's now a chance for Scott Roskill to run the ball back at this Canterbury defence. Beasley is the dummy half, the tall figure of Mike Seaby, 6'8" tall, and he weighs in at 21 stone. This now is Rusty Borden. He releases the pass to Barwick, who finds Edwards. Edwards, who had the 33 minutes of magic against Canberra that in effect won the game for them that night. That's a lovely ball from Mattison to Martin, and Martin does well to keep the movement going to White, and White finds Tony Martin, and Martin making good inroads, and in the end he then is brought down.
Good use of the long ball out wide, and you could see the fullback Nick Martin chiming into that three-quarter line. Good tactics so far.
White, long ball to Barwick. Barwick looked to pass and get the ball away, but immediately he was clobbered. That's the turnover. Good tackling there by Shane Martin, who was in there very quickly.
Well, I think they just lost their way a bit there, the London side. This is the break and the long ball out wide. You could see how they bring the fullback in. Good support play as well. Josh White out wide to Martin. So the intention is quite clear now from the Broncos. They want to try to get it out wide. They don't want to mess around with the big forwards. And this Canterbury pack is very strong indeed. So they are good tactics from the coach, Tony Curry.
There's Polomounta, and he showed the ball to Reardon. Tony Curry watching on as that collision happened in centre field. This is Pickering. Pickering then released it to Polomounta again. Polomounta is tackled by Sean Edwards. Scooting into dummy half is Shane Martin. Polomounta again. He's the general. He's the director-in-chief. Kick out wide, looking for Halligan. He tips the ball back in field. It was well watched by Martin, but by the looks of things, the ball was out anyway.
Well, I'm not so sure. He was didn't have the foot on the line or over it.
No, he was up in the air, wasn't he, when he kicked the ball back?
Well, again, we see surprising tactics by Canterbury. This is Halligan getting the ball back on the inside. It's play on for mine there, but I can't understand why Canterbury are not peppering the new kid, Wes Cotton. They've gone to Scott Roskill's wing on both occasions that they've used the kick. When young guy's making the debut, you've got to apply the pressure, and as yet, they have not kicked to the left-hand wing.
Well, maybe it's because what little sun that is left here at the stoop is maybe in the eyes of Scott Roskill. But offside against the Canterbury Bulldogs as they completed that tackle. Penalty to London.
Good thinking there by Sean Edwards. He wasn't to get onto it. Let's get away from here. But you can see they're getting this ball out wide. And good refereeing by John Connolly.
Lovely break from White. He's away. Half break. He's got support from Bowden. He's also got support from Cotton. But that was the first touch for Wes Cotton. It could have been a glorious touch as well. He takes the tackle 10 metres out. Now here comes the hooker Beasley. Robbie Beasley taking London to within 3 metres of the line. Mattison shoots into dummy half. He is White who made the break. Edwards now well watched by Canterbury. They obviously have pinpointed Edwards as the danger man. White though is a danger. Little step from Hamilton, pops the ball back to Martin. Martin gets it away to Martin, but he's quickly closed down by Darryl Halligan. Martin is the dummy half. White again. This now is Hamilton once more. Kim Howard rather once more. He drives it in on the last tackle. Now it's with White. Edwards called for it and got it. He found Mattison. Mattison flicks the ball out wide. It just bounced behind Cotton, who dabs the ball into the in-goal area, chasing after it, and that's good pressure from the young man. And it was El Masri who had to come back and tap the ball dead.
Well, what a great opening for the youngster, Wes Cotton. First touch of the football, made ground. Second time, used the common sense, little chip through, and it was just weighted enough. That would have pleased this coach, Tony Curry.
5 minutes gone. Impressive first couple of touches for Wes Cotton, the man on loan from Wigan. He played against St Helens in the 1995 Academy Cup final. He's been living with Martin Afai while in London, as we showed you before the match got going. That's Kim Howard. He's been doing that throughout this phase of the World Cup Championship, just charging the ball into the defenders. This time, though, the defence stands firm. Beasley at dummy half. Martin wanted it. They give it instead to Seaby.
Well, will we see London spread it out wide early in the tackle count? They've been doing it so far.
Bowden now taking them on again up the middle, wants to release the pass, but the hand coming across from Martin there to prevent the pass being slipped as the tackle was made. Matheson grounded on the 20-metre line. Beasley's in at dummy half. Now White, Edwards wide, and further wide is Marden.
Needed a dummy runner there. They picked out Marden, the fullback, chiming in then.
He picked up the tackle from John Timu, and the kick into the in-goal from White is looking for Cotton. Oh, what a start to Cotton's career! What a try, and Martin Afire, the first man to lead the applause. It was a great try. What a way to start your London career. Wes Cotton, an inch-perfect crossfield kick from White.
Beautiful play. White, who's running the show so far. See how he goes up here, and you can see that El Masri, well, El Masri has been the star of the Super League down under, but not on this occasion, and he just got it all wrong. Wes Cotton didn't, though. Tremendous leap. Kick over into the left-hand corner. He was in a good position, was El Masri, but this guy jumped higher. The determination etched on his face. He wanted that football. What a start to your first great career.
Well, he would have dreamt about that last night, and suddenly the dream has come true. Wes Cotton, 19 years of age, the man filling in the boots of his landlord, Martin Afire, and what a start. Now, Greg Barwick with the opportunity to add the extras. 70% success rate this year for Barwick, 51 goals. Formerly with the Canterbury Bulldogs, Greg Barwick, against his former club then. Gives it a good thump, finds the direction, gets the 2 points. London 6, Canterbury 0. At the moment, London bang on cue for the quarter-finals.
You can see the winger El Masri has got his eyes on that football coming down, but Wes Cotton leaps a lot higher. The timing was perfect. Tremendous start by the London side. They're up for this one, and they've got the try that they deserved. All that pressure, they've come up with the points they needed.
Well, he's only on loan from Wigan, is Wes Cotton. That, Steve-O, could have added a couple of noughts to the transfer fee.
Long way to go yet, but it's good to see the youngster get off to a flying start. That'll build his confidence. Not only that, the way that the London side are playing, Canterbury realise they're in for a pretty big game, and they can't understand the tactics from London. They were expecting a pretty, and that's a knock-on, they were expecting a pretty tough game up the middle, and the tactics from the London side, this is a replay of the ball being lost. It'll be a knock-on. Not so sure that Beasley were perhaps helping it out. Either way, according to the referee John Connolly, it's a scrum down.
Okay, roll away. And Matheson gets the ball from the base of the scrum. That was Beasley. This is Matheson again. Martin was the dummy runner, and Martin almost stepped inside Timu. A good job the Polymounter was there and tidying up. Now Seabeed. Whoa, bang! Shoulder to the wheel from the big fella. 6'8".
Well, you see he attracted 4 players into him, and this is where you can get a real rush on when you play the ball quickly. Pretty high there, Polymounter. Martin would have felt that.
9.5 minutes gone then, and the Broncos in possession and at the moment in control, but that's good defence. Terrific big push back. Darren Britt was leading the way on Andrew Hamilton. Lovely little chip over the top. Silva was there.
Just a little bit too far there by Sean Edwards. The idea was right. You could see that Josh White had made sure that he was onside, but well spotted by Rod Silva, who will add a lot of spark to this Canterbury side. He's back after injury.
Offside against London now. Canterbury in no...
You could see quite a few that he could have selected. He decided it was Andrew Hamilton, the big second rower. He was a culprit, according to the merry whistleblower.
Referee sorry, Steve-O, quite convinced the decision was right, and Canterbury, there's certainly no slouches there, getting this movement going. This is Timu. Now a test of the London defence. First time Polamanta. Good ball to Reardon. Tackle, though, by Howard. This is Mears, the hooker and dummy half, releases the pass. Polamanta again, inevitably. And this is the last tackle for the Bulldogs. They're 10 metres short of the line. Kick out wide. It's a great kick. El Masri. Oh, he puts it down. The kick was from Glenn Hughes, and El Masri only had to do Cotton then pick the ball out of the sky and score.
Well, the inexperience showing there of Wes Cotton. You could see that Cotton was well out of position. He should have anticipated that. Well, it was nearly tit for tat. It was Cotton that got to the first try before El Masri. He nearly turned it around there, and I think that Wes Cotton will be getting a message from his coach, Tony Carey, that when it's on that last tackle, make sure you go back into that corner. It's a lot easier to run towards the football, and you can see that he realised he was getting there too late. Good tactics, though, by the Canterbury side.
Lovely break from Edwards. He's got support. Martin pressed the gas. Oh, Beasley dropped the ball.
Well,
that's a golden opportunity gone begging, and Beasley knows it.
That would have been a sensational try. The master sending away the fullback who we mentioned before the start of the game. Loves nothing better than to join in the three-quarter line. It was poor defence, but quick thinking. They did everything right there. The hooker, Robbie Beasley, supporting like every hooker should do, creamed it. Big chance gone begging. Big hit there, though, from Bowden.
Bowden on Glenn Hughes. This now is Reardon. He drives it over the top of Barwick, but he can't get away from Bowden on that occasion. Mears was the dummy half. Polamanta. And the tall figure of Darren Britt bounces off 2 tackles. Martin does well, stands his ground and takes him, helped by Beasley. Here's Polamanta again. Ball back on the inside to Hughes, and Edwards brought him down, but the Broncos were caught offside at that play the ball.
A little bit of tactics, I think, from Sean Edwards.
And even Steve-O with Halligan in the side. The Bulldogs have spurned the opportunity here of 2 points. They want more. And that's the... Oh, he's dropped that. Peckering.
He'll get a penalty, though, for interference at the play of the ball. And he's right. Even though the Australian side want to get on with it. Oh, it's a scrum down.
Someone's on his way to the sin bin here. No, is it the sin bin? I'm trying to get the colour of the referee's card. That looks white from here. But Edwards' face, I think, will tell you that that is a yellow card and he's in the sin bin. Well is it a white card?
That's a pale yellow I've ever seen.
Well, he's in the sin bin. It's happened again at London.
The kick-off.
They have had a man sent to the sin bin.